Hello everyone, it is John from Double Sleeved here, and we are on our third spoiler video. If you've not seen the other two, check them out. If you're new to all the spoilers that are happening, then you will have missed some, so make sure you see all of those. There's loads of cards, and today we're on to another block of fantastic cards. I will take you through them. I've seen pretty much all of them at a very quick glance, and now we're going to look at them in a bit more detail. If you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe, and stay tuned for, no doubt, even more of these videos. So many spoilers happening, which is absolutely fantastic, and we've had some cracking cards. We're going to start off today with Dire Fleet Warmonger, which is a 3/3 for 3, which is 1 black red. A creature orc pirate. Like an orc pirate. Love the sound of that. Pirates, we miss you. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, Dire Fleet Warmonger gets +2/+2 and gains trample until end of turn. We've seen some of the cards we've already looked at. Spoilers, if you've not seen them, are definitely, we're getting a lot of benefit from having cards in the graveyard, certainly within black, and to be honest, within red too. So this card definitely works, having a bit of a sacrifice outlet. Love that. It definitely makes this a fantastic looking card that you can boost up to a 5/5 with trample. Hopefully we see more pirates. Garrick Unleashed. So a 4 loyalty, 4 mana planeswalker, 2 green. Up to 1 target creature gets +3/+3 and gains trample until end of turn. That's the +1 ability. Yep, that's good. -2 is create a 3/3 green beast creature token. Then, if an opponent controls more creatures than you, put a loyalty counter on Garrick Unleashed. So it basically becomes a -1 ability. That's pretty deadly if you need to get yourself back in the race. And a 3/3 beast cannot be argued with. Yet to see where, from a limited perspective, where the power, toughness, normality line lies yet, but there's definitely some powerful stuff out there. 3/3 will always stack up fairly well though, and I like the +1 ability. And the -7 is you get an emblem with, at the beginning of your end step, you may search your library for a creature card, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. As an emblem is pretty devastating. So you know, getting to 7 would be beneficial. I think the ability to land this and it become a 5 loyalty planeswalker. There is some planeswalker hate in this set, but that definitely becomes really tricky, especially as you're giving something +2/+3 and trample. We could see some use out of Garrick for sure. Garruk's Impalhorn. Impalhorn? Sounds like a musical instrument. 7/3 for 4 and a green vanilla. There you go. It's a beast. 7/3 for 5. It's a common. Nice big power. We like it. It's not got a lot of toughness though. Gets blocked by that 3/3 beast. Garruk's Upheaval. All the Garruk cards. We've seen some themed cards if you've not been watching along for each of the planeswalkers. So we've got a 2 and a green enchantment. When Garruk's Upheaval enters the battlefield, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card. Creatures you control with trample... creatures you control have trample. Whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. So you're getting a lot of card draw. And I remember, and I first saw a bunch of these cards, I thought, what's green doing with so much card draw? Why do you need that? There are some cards, real payoffs for green card draw. And I think that kind of green, mono green or even Simic, potentially, we're going to see some decent card draw mechanics from. So absolutely great cards. Like it. It's definitely not going to be a particularly pacey deck. Apologies if you can hear the beautiful British rain in the background. We've got next one, an instant head surge for 2 and a green. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control, then double the number of 1/1 counters on that creature. So definitely going to see its way into some decks. We've already seen, just to sort of go sideways into the other release of Double Masters that we've heard about, that there are some counter synergies in there with like a Traxxas. So loving that some of these cards all tying together and are uncommon. It's quite a pricey 2 and a green, but hey, I think it's great if you're going to see counters feature. Leafkin Awakener. I love this card because obviously Leafkin Druid is mono green, 2 mana, and gives you mana. It's just a mana dork. I love that this looks like someone's like charged it up. For 2, a red and a green, it's a 4/3 elemental druid, just like Leafkin. Tap, add green for each creature with power 4 or greater that you control, which is good, but you know it's 4 mana to do it, to play it in the first place. And then for 7 and a red, Leafkin Awakener deals damage equal to its power to target player or planeswalker. So I feel like if you're going to boost this up, if you're really going to add to it, this could absolutely smash it. If you're playing lots of big green stompy creatures, or even lots of your kind of gruel stompy creatures, then you might get a lot out of the tapping it for green. Just seems like a strange, quite extreme card. If you get it to work, could be effective. Liliana, Waker of the Dead. Another 4 mana planeswalker, 2 black, and 4 loyalty. For the +1, each player discards a card. Each opponent who can't loses 3 life. So a bit of hand hate there, and if not, direct 3 life lost. But 5 gets up to 5 quite quickly. That card discarding is going to be irritating. The -3 is target creature gets -X/-X until end of turn, where X is the number of cards in your graveyard. So pretty quickly that's a significant removal. And then we've got the -7 you get an emblem with at the beginning of your combat on your turn. Put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. It gains haste. So that is just like Garruk's, but it's from any graveyard. I think this card, Garruk, they get their +1s, they get themselves up to 7 pretty quickly, and you're going to struggle to deal with Liliana because she's getting rid of your hand each turn. Another card I can see being, with some of the great black cards we've got that we've seen already, could be really, really powerful. Lofty Denial. I'm not sure how accurate some of these names are, but Lofty Denial, appreciate the translations, by the way, MTG Goldfish. Really helps with these kinds of videos. A 1 and a blue instant. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 1. If you control a creature with flying, counter that spell unless the controller pays 4. I like a counter spell, especially if you've got a little cheeky flyer where you're making them pay 4. That's pretty much countered, certainly for the first 5-6 turns. But yeah, definitely a real interesting card for the flyers. Blue-white flyers, love a counter spell. Demonic Embrace. I'm not sure this one has been spoiled properly, but we've seen it, so I'm going to look at it. A 1 black enchantment aura. Enchanted creature gets +3/+1 and has flying and is a demon in addition to its other types. You may cast Demonic Embrace from a graveyard by paying 3 life and discarding a card in addition to paying its other costs. So kind of a good double use. The paying 3 life is a bit of a pain, but otherwise it's basically you know, that mechanic, the jumpstart mechanic, whatever it was called. But yeah, fairly standard. +3/+1 and flying is pretty good, and I do like, and permanently, and you can use it from the graveyard. Yeah, in black decks, especially where we're looking at a lot of self-mill, this is going to feature. Alpine Watchdog. Now, straight away, when I showed this card to my wife, she said, are we going to do the cutest cards in this set video this time, which we did for the last Ikoria set? And absolutely we will, because of this card. Look at it. We talk about good boys. This one right here, 2/2 for 2 for 1 and a white, is a dog, just straight dog. Vigilance. It is the most vigilant of Alpine Watchdogs. Love this card. There's a bit of synergy with it as well, which we'll come on to in a second. Idol of Endurance, 2 and a white, an artifact. When Idol of Endurance enters the battlefield, exile all creature cards with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard until Idol of Endurance leaves the battlefield. For 1 and a white, tap. Until end of turn, you may cast a creature spell from among the cards exiled with Idol of Endurance without paying its mana cost. So, an interesting card. Quite a lot of caveats have to be played here. So it enters the battlefield. You have to have creature cards in your graveyard. You still have to pay 2 and tap this artifact in order to cast it without paying its mana cost. I guess it's one of these is like a bit of a slower burn. How many, when you play this card on turn 3, you're not going to have much in your graveyard at all. So you're probably playing this a bit later on, in which case your mana might not be too much of an issue. So what was the... I'm struggling to see how beneficial it'll be. Chances are somebody will find a wicked combo with it, in which case it could be sweet. Light of Promise, 2 and a white for an enchantment aura. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature has whenever you gain life, put that many 1/1 counters on this creature. I think this is quite a good little card. We like auras, we like enchantments. We've seen that in standard already, especially in white. The fact that whenever you gain life, you put that many +1 counters on the creature, and then there are other cards potentially. If you went to sort of Selesnya with that head surge, double encounters, adding counters, yeah, it could be some real benefit from that. So I like this card. I think it's neat. Valorous Steed. Valorous. A 3/3 for 4 and a white. A unicorn with Vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 white knight creature token with Vigilance. Great for the go-wides. Not sure huge value in it, though, with the fact that it's a 3/3 for 5. Yes, you get your 2/2, so you in effect get 5/5, but it's not as powerful as a 5/5. Definitely seeing white continuing the go-wide strategy as you'd expect. So this could benefit if you need those 2 blockers on the field, or you need to buff things and you need that number of creatures out there. Vryn Wingmare. A 2/1 for 2 and a white Pegasus with flying. Non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast. Just flat out 1 more to cast. I like this card in as much as we've seen quite a lot from Izzet, and we've seen quite a lot in black with instants, enchantments, sorceries that are going, and artifacts even that are going to be significant. I like the fact that this can just land, it flies, and it's basically just we're white, we're going wide, we're playing creatures, we're using planeswalkers, abilities already. I think this card could be quite useful, if nothing else, sideboarded. Definitely limited, could be useful if we see that the meta in this set go quite quick with instants and sorceries. Frantic Inventory, interesting card. An instant, as I was saying, for 1 and a blue. Draw on a card, then draw cards equal to the number of cards named Frantic Inventory in your graveyard. So a bunch of these, especially if you've got them in limited, where you can just have as many as you can draw at common, as many as you can find. So good though if you've got 4 and you're in a self mill and you've got a couple in the graveyard, you're playing 2, you're drawing potentially 2, 3, 4 cards. Yeah, I like it. Simple. Riddle Form, 1 and a blue enchantment. This is similar to the cycling red enchantment. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may have Riddle Form become a 3/3 Sphinx creature with flying in addition to its other type until end of turn. What I like about this is it's also got the 2 and a blue to scry 1. So this card is just going to sit there in some control decks. It's going to sit there, potentially even a couple of them can sit there in your slower decks, maybe your sorceries and instants style deck, and you can just make this a 3/3 on your turn and potentially even on their turn if you're countering spells or you're casting instants. So yeah, I really like the mechanic on this one. Sorry for a blurry one here. Grasp of Darkness for 2 black. It's an instant and target creature gets -4 until end of turn. A quick removal for pretty much anything in the first couple of turns. In mono black, I like it. I think it's an instant speed -4/-4. Lots of time for it. One of my definitely competing for one of the best artworks of the set so far. Conspicuous Snoop is a 2/2 for 2 red. Goblin Rogue. Look at it, pushing its face up against the window. Play with your with the top card of your library revealed. You may cast goblin spells from the top of your library. As long as the top card of your library is a goblin, Conspicuous Snoop has all activated abilities of that card. We have seen a couple of goblins, and we'll see a few more, no doubt, in a second. We know there are goblins throughout the current standard. Absolutely love a goblin tribal in limited and in standard. So happy to see this, and it will no doubt feature in other fun, silly goblin decks across multiplayer and other formats. Fiery Emancipation, a 3 red mythic enchantment. This one, if a source you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals triple that damage to that permanent or player instead. A closeout for some of the direct damage, is it, or even just mono red decks that we are going to see, no doubt. It's expensive at 6 mana, but hey, I like it, and I think I can see it being a bit of an ender, a bit of a closer in those decks. Furious Rise for 2 and a red, and another enchantment in red. At the beginning of your end step, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card until you exile another card with Furious Rise. So, an interesting one if you've got mana open, you've got big, you know in red you're going to run out of cards, no doubt, especially if you're going aggro. This card could be useful, but you have to have your power 4 cards out there. There are quite a few in this new set. Maybe we'll see that. Here's your Goblin card. A 1/1 for 1 Goblin Arsonist is a Goblin Shaman. When Goblin Arsonist dies, you may have it deal 1 damage to any target. Nice. Again, apologies if you can hear the British summer weather in this somewhat echoey room. A 2/2 for 1 and a red Heartfire Immolator, Human Wizard with Prowess. Whenever you cast a creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. For a red, sacrifice Heartfire Immolator. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker. You might have to join me in a second once this has died down. Okay, so hopefully you can't hear the rain quite so bad. I had to take like a good hour to let it die down. So we're just going to crack on and finish these fantastic cards. So we are at the Heartfire Immolator. I've gone through this card. Think it's fun. Wizard, human. It's got the pay 1 and sacrifice it, which is useful, and it deals damage equal to its power. So you're getting 2 damage done if need be, as well as it being a blocker for 1. I mean, I think it's pretty useful. Plus the fact that if you couple it with loads of instant sorceries, then there you go. You've got a big power creature you can sacrifice. Another one that's going to be a great mana sink is this Hellkite Punisher, which is a 6/6 flying for 5 red dragon. That for 1 red, +1, 0 until end of turn. Love that. Pump it up. Nice big flying threat. 7 mana's quite a bit, but hey, certain decks, why not? Igneous Cur. This is the other of the dogs that couples with another creature we'll see in a minute. Is a 1/2 for 1 and a red elemental dog. We love elementals. Igneous Cur for 1 and a red gets +2/0 until end of turn. So lots of these sinking red mana into creatures to buff them up, which makes it a 3/2, which is pretty good. We don't mind it for a common. Transmogrify, which is a 3 and a red sorcery. Exile target creature. That creature's controller reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a creature card. That player puts that card onto the battlefield, then shuffles the rest into their library. Useful if you know that somebody's not playing a particularly heavy creature deck potentially, or probably more importantly is you're using it on your creatures. So if you know you've got a big field of creatures and you've got a couple of 1-drops, chances are you could well see yourself with a nice big hefty creature, especially if you've managed to load the top of your library and you know that the next card coming is a big creature. For 4 mana you could be playing, because it goes on to the battlefield, a massive creature. So I like the potential that this card has. So one of our cards that is not in English, apologies. I love the fact that on Scryfall, where all these cards, or majority of these cards come from, the translation titles are always hilarious, and they're definitely not what they should be. And I shan't read what this one is, but it's a creature Treefolk. It's a 2/3, as we can see, for 2 and 2 green. Basically, it says whenever you draw a card, this creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So this is one of those green payoff cards we're talking about. Like a Treefolk, why not? Yeah, so for 4 mana, you potentially got a 4/4 sorry, a 4/5, because it's whenever you draw a card, as long as this is out at the start of your turn, you draw a card, it's already a 4/5, and then every time you're drawing, you're gaining benefit from it. So I think it's a pretty decent card. The other one that I haven't got the name of is a dinosaur, a 3/3 for 1 and a green dinosaur creature with Defender. As long as you control a creature with power 4 or greater, it can attack as though it didn't have Defender. So I like this as an early drop. 3/3, defends your line. You play a big creature either on turn 3 or 4. Bang, you've saved yourself, and now you've also got a threat. I think it's really useful. I think it's good. Next into Heroic Intervention, I believe is a reprint for 1 and a green. It's an instant. Permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Really useful, especially if you need those things to stick around, or you know there's lots of damage going to happen. You've potentially gone wide, or you've created some tokens, and you just need to hold on for another turn. You know a big turn's coming, or potentially you need to really move in for a big attack. Love that. Love that card. Warden of the Woods, another Treefolk, like the double Treefolk. It's a 5/7 for 4 green, and it's Vigilance, which is always good. And whenever Warden of the Woods becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you may draw 2 cards. So you can't cast a spell on it yourself, but if your opponent does, suddenly you've got yourself a couple of cards which would play off against the other Treefolk we saw, and a couple of other cards. So like this card draw green deck that we've got going on. And the Alpine Houndmaster, which is the synergistic card with the 2 dogs. We've seen a 2/2 for 2, so a 2/2 for red. White is a human warrior. When Alpine Houndmaster enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a card named Alpine Watchdog and or a card named Igneous Cur, reveal them, put them into your hand, and shuffle your library. So good if you've got both, for sure. Whenever Alpine Houndmaster attacks, it gets plus X0 until end of turn, where X is the number of other attacking creatures. So it's okay, it's gaining for having attacking creatures. You're getting those 2 cards in your hand, which is really useful in terms of pulling cards. It's also a human, and obviously the others are not human, so with that human, non-human synergy you get with some of the decks, then you know you're going to benefit a huge amount from it. So yeah, it's a nice little card, certainly in Limited. I think you get quite a bit of benefit out of it. Obsessive Stitcher, a 0/3 1 blue black Dimir creature, human wizard. Tap to draw a card, then discard a card. Pay 2 blue black, tap, sacrifice, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So another lovely recursion effect, but we're actually getting, so for 3 mana to play it, and then for 4 mana and sacrificing it, you're in effect for 7 mana gaining a card out of the graveyard. So good over 2 turns. Play this turn 3, sacrifice this turn 4, and then you've gained yourself potentially a big threat from the graveyard. So I do like that, especially as it's also a bit of card draw itself. Meteorite, a fun artifact, 5 mana. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to any target, like it, and then you tap it to add 1 mana. So it's okay. It's, if you need the mana fixing, certainly in Limited, it could be useful. 2 damage, there are some direct damage synergies going on, but it's quite expensive for what it is. Fabled Passage reprint, you're going to see a few reprinted lands. If you don't know what Fabled Passage does, it's basically a fetch land for any colour. So tap, sacrifice, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle your library. But if you control 4 or more, then you can untap that land. So really useful card, definitely benefiting a reprint. Then we've got Temple of Epiphany. I won't go into all the temples, but basically they are scry temples. They enter tapped, they scry 1, and you can add obviously the combination 1 or the other of the 2 colours on the card. You've got Malady, Mystery, Silence, and Triumph, all being reprinted. We've then got Pursued Whale for 5 blue. It's an 8/8 whale. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent creates a 1/1 red pirate creature token. This creature can't block, and creatures you control attack each combat if able. Spells your opponents cast that target Pursued Whale costs 3 more to cast. So it's a big threat that gives your opponents something that they have to attack with. It's an interesting card. I'm not sure. It's a big threat. It's an 8/8. So it's one of these cards, I think, when we're looking at recursion cards, this is a sort of card that you're going to be pulling out an 8/8 out of your graveyard, or casting off the top of your library with some of these cards. Eliminate. I don't think we've seen Eliminate yet. For 1 and a black, it's an instant, destroy target creature or planeswalker with converted mana cost 3 or less. Love that it destroys 3 or less planeswalkers. Perfect, just what you need. We've seen, I think, 1 with Basri Ket. So, yeah, dead useful. We've seen previously more with 3 mana. And then obviously destroying any creature with less than 3 mana cost for 2. Yeah, dead useful. Rambunctious Mutt. What a name. Is a 3/4 for 3 white. When Rambunctious Mutt enters the battlefield, destroy target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls. Double whammy, 2 for 1. Yeah, fun card. Probably not worth the mana, but why not? Why? Look at its face. You can't not want to play it. Treacherous Greed. This is a 3 and a red for an active treason style card. Sorcery, gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature. It gains haste. Add 2 mana of any one colour. So I like this card because it potentially helps you with a bit of fixing if you need it. It also basically becomes an active treason for 2 mana, although you need 4 available in order to play it. So definitely like this card. Think we'll see some play with it for sure. We've already seen some standard decks running active treason anyway, so potentially Treacherous Greed would be playable. Volcanic Salvo. That is a 10 in that little grey circle. 10 red. Whew. This spell cost X less to cast, where X is the total power of creatures you control. Total power. Volcanic Salvo deals 6 damage to up to 2 target creatures and or planeswalkers. That's a lot of damage, and if you've got 10 power on the board, which potentially you can do, then this is only going to cost you 2. That is pretty incredible. I like the card. I like the fact that it's heavy on that. Get your power out there. You've got some of the cards, Anax, which power grows with your devotion, to red. So there's lots of synergy going on there. I like it. Direct damage as well, we've seen, is going to be big. Potentially with that triple your direct damage spell that we saw, enchantment, then this could almost wipe the board in 1 turn. So, and we're back to the start. So there you go, guys. Look, sorry that there was a brief, for me it was like an hour or so, but for you guys it'll just be instant. And if you heard any of the rain coming down, again, these cards just feel like so much fun. I cannot wait to hopefully, fingers crossed, if everything is as it should be able to draft a bit of this in person, if not on Arena. If you want to get any of these cards, as I said before, and you're in the UK, then doublesleeve.co.uk is the place to go. Great price, little local company that we're trying to get off the ground. Really appreciate your patronage. Otherwise, again, like, subscribe. These videos are going to happen. We're trying to get out as much Magic content as possible, and hopefully you're all enjoying it. But either way, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.